Thousands of people marched to Washington, D.C.'s National Mall to remind of civil rights leader Martin Luther King. He is famous of his speech, "I Have a Dream," 50 years ago, and he struggled for equality among blacks and whites in America.
Thousands gathered in the rain to mark the 50th anniversary of a pivotal moment in the nation's history, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s landmark "I Have a Dream" speech. They were joined by dignitaries and civil rights leaders to commemorate a speech that came to symbolize America's struggle for equality.
But I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom.
President Barack Obama marked the occasion by calling economic injustice the great unfinished business of the civil rights movement.
For the men and women who gathered 50 years ago, we're not there in search of some abstract idea. For what does it profit a man, Dr. King would ask, to sit at an integrated lunch counter if he can't afford the meal?
That theme was echoed in the crowd, some of whom were at the original march in 1963.
We were here with our college friends, and we just thought we were doing the right thing, marching for jobs. But then again, 50 years later, we're still marching for the same thing.
The event capped a week-long celebration of King's call for racial and economic justice.
But now I see.
The World Gravy Wrestling Championships were the main course at the Rose and Bowl pub in Lancashire, England, earlier this week. 12,000 liters of traditional Lancashire gravy made from mixture of meat juices, chopped up vegetables and corn flour was supplied for the event.
Vegetarians might want to sit this one out. It's the 7th annual World Gravy Wrestling Championships. Yes, there is a competition that requires contestants to roll around in meat juices. And while roast is traditionally served on Sundays in England, there was plenty of Lancashire gravy to go around at this showdown on Monday. Referee Ken Claxton explained that it takes a certain kind of person to win the title.
A good gravy wrestler, got to have a sense of humour, they've got to be willing to make a fool of themselves, and they've got to be willing to throw themselves around, really.
As the knockout tournament came to a close, men's champ Michael Jarrett offered his take on pan juices.
Gravy's warm, heavy, and it tastes like sausages. So yeah, I think all sports should be done in gravy. You know, everything, boxing, football, everything would be much more entertaining if it was done in gravy.
Now that's food for thought.
A residential building housing 14 flats collapsed in Vadodara city in western India on Wednesday. Authorities feared over 40 people were still trapped under the rubble of cement and steel.
Rescuers in India's Vadodara city pull rubble from the site of a building collapse. 13 people have been rescued, but dozens of others are believed trapped underneath the wreckage of the 3-story apartment building. The government has deployed the army and a disaster response force in the search. So far, at least 7 are confirmed dead after the structure housing 14 flats collapsed around 4:30 a.m. on Wednesday. Some residents said they had complained about the weakening structure, but authorities did nothing. Many Indian buildings do not conform to safety regulations, with owners constructing extra floors or structures without approval from authorities.
And finally, we'll finish with a story in China. A rare blue and white palace bowl of the Changhua period in the mid-15th century is expected to fetch in excess of $10 million at an auction in Hong Kong in October. It would set a new record for the piece at the period.
A rare blue and white Ming bowl is expected to fetch more than $10 million when it goes up for auction in just over a month. Deputy Chairman Nicholas Chow of Auction House Sotheby's says the piece is one of the most important items of Ming porcelain to go up for sale in 20 years.
It's one of the most important pieces of Ming porcelain that we've had in the last 20 years. It's a so-called palace bowl, a bowl with these designs of flowers on the inside and outside. And it comes from the Chenghua period, which is really the sort of peak in material refinement and artistry at the kilns, at the imperial kilns in Jingdezhen.
The bowl was one of 3 Chenghua Palace bowls in the collection of the 2nd Baron Cunliffe of Headley, one of the most important collectors of Chinese art.
Well, the last record for a piece of that period is about 80 million hammer, so it's about 100 million. This particular piece is finer than the last one. It's painted on the inside as well as the outside. This is the most revered period of all periods in porcelain production, and really very few people have them in their collection. So it's an incredible opportunity for the very greatest collectors of Chinese art.
Other items in the October 8th sale include a Tang Dynasty dry lacquer Buddha head and 3 Qing Dynasty seals.
That's all for today's program. Thank you for watching, and we will leave you with a picture of the Tomato Festival in Spain. Good night.